Very basic agent too, but this is like also the idea of like giving that agency. And you know what? Do it every week. Every week, come back and tell me the things that happen. It's now, again, these are really dumb agents, but suddenly like, hey, agent, well, I want you to go and give me my top users. Tell me more about them. I want to learn how they're using our product, how they are applying, or what is it that they're not liking, and then come back with a summary of it. This is very different from just analytics, which they just give you the raw data. This is actually
so they're doing it for you. They're doing that
it for you and understanding, and then coming back with an answer, with a possible answer. I believe.
Hi everyone, I'm Felix, co-founder and CEO at ADP List. Welcome to today's ADP List exclusive fireside chat, and it's the first one in 2025. So obviously, to start off the amazing year, me and my team, we're so excited to actually invite someone that I believe the entire design industry should know him. But in case you don't know, I'm really thrilled to introduce our guest today, who is a visionary in the design and technology space, Pablo Stanley. Many of you know Pablo as a co-founder of Blush, a revolutionary platform that empowers designers to create and customize illustration with ease. I use it a lot on the Figma plugin. It's amazing. And building on top of his success with Blush, Pablo has recently embarked on a new exciting venture as the founder of Lummi AI, where he's pioneering the integration of AI to further enhance creative processes in design. And of course, Pablo is also on the board of advisors at Canva, which is a really, really big design company. So Pablo will be here sharing a lot about AI, design, and creativity, and his own career as well. So join me and welcome Pablo Stanley. Pablo, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having me here. This is pretty cool. I'm a big fan of everything you guys have been doing. Your community is amazing. It's huge. It's all over the world. And I don't know. Apparently, I'm being joined by my little puppy. His name is Taco.
Taco. All right. It's amazing we have Taco join us today. It's a Taco Tuesday.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Taco Tuesday. I'm going to be asking him. He's going to be coaching me here on the side.
Coaching you there. That's amazing. We love a good coach and a good mentor here. Now, Pablo, I know that you have started a few good things besides the thing that we mentioned. I think you also did Roboto's NFT as well. That was an amazing project. I followed your progress, and obviously, it has a beautiful start and a beautiful ending as well. So you have done so many projects. So I'm gonna start today's sort of really session with your own personal journey, but also sort of your learnings from your entire career, right? So you founded Blush to founding Lummi AI right now. Can you share some of, the most pivotal moments or influences that has shaped your approach to design and creativity throughout your career? Because you have done so many different types of projects. I think it all revolves around good design. Could you share some of the most important moments that throughout this entire journey?
How far back do you want to go, man?
Wow,
We can spend an hour just like talking about all this stuff, because like I suppose like you get at this age in my life when you start analyzing your life and you start seeing things and you're like, yeah, that had an influence. I didn't even know that was a pivotal moment in my life. But I can give you a rundown. Ever since I was a kid, I was one of the kids that likes drawing. Honestly, I'm realizing, as a kid, the thing that I did, I used to do comics, but as a kid, and I didn't know what comics were. I knew that you could just tell stories with little characters and just like doing stuff. I would watch movies, and I wanted to do my own version of movies in paper. And I suppose that was the genesis of, I don't know, getting myself into design and stuff, like if I wanted to go as far back as I could. But I mean, a pivotal moment for me was moving to San Francisco, and I started as a UX designer. And then when I started there, I already was a designer. I had already been a designer for at least like 6 years, 8 years. So I thought I knew it all. I don't know if you guys have been in that position where you think you know it all. And I've done posters and I've done websites, I've done WordPress sites. And then you see UX and you Google what UX is. And you're like, back then there was not a lot of information, by the way. But it was like, this looks very easy. And I've been doing a lot of Flash sites. I'm doing a lot of WordPress sites. UX sounds pretty easy, yeah, a piece of cake. So moving to San Francisco, thinking that I knew it all, was a pivotal moment in suddenly realizing, oh, I don't know anything.
Where did you go from there? After that, where did you go from there?
Yeah, I mean, I started working as a UX designer, and then after that, I was lucky enough to be invited to be the founder of a company, and I think that's where I got a little bit of the founder bug, of starting new things from scratch. And I was lucky to get invited to work at a company called Carbon Health, which is totally different from what I do right now. It was about, we're trying to solve healthcare in America. I don't know if you heard, but healthcare in the United States, it's a big problem. But when you get started and you are like, we're designers, we're smart, we know how to code. All these doctors, what they need is just an app, a beautiful app that has some buttons, and we're going to solve healthcare in America with that. We realized like it's a little bit harder than that, but it was pretty cool because we realized it was because of that ignorance, because of being that I don't know, that naive. When you get started with something and you think you know it all, I suppose you've seen the Dunning-Kruger graphic. When you're getting started, your confidence levels are high as hell. You think you know it all, but really your knowledge levels are at the lowest. You don't know anything. And then suddenly we are there where we suddenly like are trying to get the doctors and patients to use our product. We realize like doctors don't need this stuff and don't want this stuff. And we learn the hard way, and suddenly our confidence goes to hell. But I think something that was really crucial there was learning that and going through the process of like, we decided to go the hard way. We realized like this is not just a simple app that is going to solve problems. We need to really learn. And we actually built a clinic next to our office. We had to rent a really big office, and we're a super small team. And then we realized like, oh, we have all this big office space. Let's just build a clinic, like an actual clinic with doctors and nurses, with a reception where people who feeling sick go and get cured. Let's do that. But because we wanted to learn, we wanted to like actually learn what people wanted, what doctors wanted, what nurses wanted. So that was a huge learning for us. That sometimes you think that the things are easy and that you know it all, and then you realize that you don't, and you have to work hard, to understand. So it was one of the pretty cool things. After that, I got into creative tools. I was able to. I joined the Vision team. Rest in peace, RIP. But dude, like such talented people. It was just like I've been going through so many stages of imposter syndrome in my life. The first time it was like when I moved to San Francisco and I thought I knew it all and I thought UX was easy. Then when we thought we could solve healthcare in America, and then suddenly I go to InVision and oh my God, those guys were actually creative. I was like in the middle thinking like, oh, I fooled these people to get in here. I don't know why. and then but I don't know. Like actually, after that, some people from that team from that I met there, we started Blush, and yeah, and the rest is history. But yeah, like some of the coolest engineers that I met and really talented, I met them there, and then I don't know how I convinced them, but I told them like, hey guys, what if we do in the middle of the pandemic? We quit our jobs, and I mean, back then they were pretty safe jobs. They were pretty well paid jobs, and it's like,
Yeah.
hey, come on, in the middle of a pandemic, let's go and go into a venture about doodles because doodles are a good business. And
Yeah, they are.
I convinced them, and I don't know how, but yeah, like after that, now it was about raising money, which was a bigger challenge. After that, it was pretty cool, dude. Like that's why I'm asking you, how far do you want me to go? How deep? Because there's
I
a
think you
lot.
have went pretty far and deep, so I really admire that. But I want to dive into sort of post you starting Lummi, and then I mean you starting Blush, and then now Lummi. I think it's obviously it's incredibly rare for designers to be founders. I mean, I've not seen many people like yourself, like me, maybe a few others, right? But just looking back in your career, how do you define success in the design industry? Being a designer and then now being a founder, how do you define success? I ask this from perspective of like, I think just a lot of people, as they climb career ladders, as they maybe start different companies, there's different ways to define what happiness and success is. I mean, I'm just curious, like now that you look back, each stage, I mean, have you been successful and maybe like, how do you define that for yourself?
I mean, how do you define success? It's something that, I mean, if you ask specifically about our app and about like, how do you define success in our product? We're always like changing that, by the way.
Yeah.
Recently we're like, what is the metric that we should be looking and we should be focusing on? But if you want to go a little bit more high level, I think, I mean, you define success with, everybody defines success in a different way and with different milestones and with different ways that you want to, the different goals that you have. For us, it has always been from the beginning, from Blush, from everything we do is always about empowering users to be creative. So like, how can we allow people to create, to feel more empowered and more like they have that thing that that they had, which is creativity. And for us, it has always, from Blush, from Musho, even in Robotos, like that was, even when it was NFTs and everything, like it was really about like, hey, how can we get people to use these NFTs to create stuff and to tell their stories and to go into different worlds and actually feel connected to this little doodle. And so how do you actually define it? How you put it in numbers? It's a little bit hard. We always like are trying to change that. Well, like refine that more than anything. But I think for us, it's a little bit fuzzy, like sparking creativity. How do you get people to write more? And how do you get them to share more and share with the world and be proud of what they create?
Wow.
And we try to get people to in Lummi, for example, like all the images that we create and that we put there are images that I will want to use. That I see them and it's like, I start imagining a poster or start imagining a video with it. I start like, oh dude, like I want to use it at a website. I don't know what this image is about, but I want to create a hero with a big typography and a big button and that image in the background, maybe do some parallax effect. Like every image has a little bit of that where we imagine how we would use it. And then hopefully that is also something that others see, that others are inspired. Whenever they see an image, they use it as an excuse to create something. That's something that, for example, happens with me with typefaces. I go and I don't know if you go to these sites that are just like has a ton of different fonts. And then you see the fonts and you are like, I just want to create something with that font, like you see that font is like, I want to do a website. I want to do a whole product with this font. I don't know what it is, but I just love this font. So that's how everything that we put out there is about that, like inspire people to help them with real things, but also with things that are maybe that they didn't even know that they could do.
Wow. And what we're saying here is really that it's almost like a lot of the work that you're doing is helping people spark the creativity inside of them.
Yeah.
I just, just like while we're still in this topic of your career and some of your big lessons that you're learning, I mean, being a designer and now being a founder, what were the main differences? Like, did things change? I mean, how was that transition like? I mean, there's a lot of folks that I know who wants to be founders, who wants to build things and create things, right? Not necessarily the word founder, but it could be builder, maker, whatever. But how was that transition for you, and what can people learn from your transition?
Man, it's you don't have to go as far as being a founder. You start finding out the differences even when you suddenly make a change from an individual contributor to being a manager. Like and a lot of people find the huge, like a lot of companies, their organizations, their hierarchies and all of this are based on like you reach a level where suddenly the next step in your career is becoming a manager, which sometimes is a big mistake because for a lot of us designers really love, sometimes there's a taboo in saying like you just push the pixels. Some of us really enjoy pushing the pixels and we find like really just like a joy in creating something and feeling like I made this. I putting it out in the world and seeing others use it and seeing that satisfaction that and it might sometimes be very personal. That is like that button, that little animation that it makes. It's part a little bit of me, it came from me a little bit. And we, and those little details in the big picture too, but it's still about designing, and creating stuff. And suddenly you go and you start, like, hey, your manager realizes that whoever is at a higher level, you're really talented, you're really good, and they want to do something good for you. They see like, hey, you have you should go to the next level, and you know what? The next level is being a manager. Sometimes as designers, we make the mistake of saying like, dude, yeah, of course, manager, easy. And then we realize that it's totally different skill set. I don't know if you heard of the Peter principle. The Peter principle is like, hey, you get promoted to your level of incompetence. So you get promoted as to that point where you're not good anymore.
Right.
And that's why a lot of managers are not that good, because maybe they came from a point where they were really good salespeople. They were really good at sales, and they were really good being out there and sending emails and being there with the person who, being those people who are bugging until they close the deal. And then suddenly they become managers because it's the next level, and they're not good anymore. And now they have to manage people, and they have to be with like, they're not working with clients, they're working with their teammates, and they have to inspire them. They have to be looking out for them. And that's a shift that, I mean, as a founder, there's a lot of that too. And as a founder, you have to think about the financials. You have to think about all the executing, your setting a vision, setting a strategy, but also caring about the people who are working with you. And sometimes I suppose, like, for founders, I will be like, hey, maybe first start as a manager and see if you like that stuff, and then maybe you can go and upgrade as a founder. I mean, Felix, you have a huge team, you have a huge community, you have a lot of people who are working with you. So I'm pretty sure that, I mean, you're a designer, right? When was the last time you decided something?
Well, I think it was like 2 years ago, man, or maybe 3 now.
See, if you're a
Shout
designer
out to
and
our
you
designer.
enjoy designing, maybe don't go into the managerial things unless you really are inspired about like the bigger picture. If you want to really learn about learn about market fit, about team dynamics, about setting a culture, about if you're a founder and you're in tech, maybe you will have to start learning about like actually raising funds, going and talk to investors. Like, that was really hard for me, man. Like, I failed so hard in the beginning, and I still struggle, like convincing people to give you their money, and then telling them, oh, you I don't know, it's a different thing. And you learn it by, if you are not ready to deal with people, and if you're not ready to say, hey, design, to say goodbye to the actual craft, maybe you don't want to do this yet, or maybe you want to start just on the side, see how it goes, but know that designing actual things is going to be like the actual craft. You're not going to be doing that. Now, a lot of those skills that you form are going to be really useful, because designers, I think we have this superpower of being, I mean, if we really care about like who's using our products, who's clicking those buttons, who's connecting to our brand, we develop like empathy, right, for the other side, and we start thinking about them. And that's really useful when you go and form a team, when you go and try to think about product market fit, when you start thinking about like, hey, what do my investors want? What is in their minds? So you already have a foot on the door, but there's a lot of other things that you have to do.
So what you're saying is like people have to decide and try to see if it works for them, and if they still want to be in the craft. Obviously, sort of this founder or management position might not be ready for that yet, because you have seen, I'm sure you've seen many cases, as you shared, throughout your career. And I'm just sort of curious, like, people who are now maybe in managerial position and listening to this right now at this very moment, because we have got maybe 1,000 attendees right now on the other side. How do managers maintain their level of creativity without being in the craft themselves? Because I would figure that that might be a problem, as they might not have designed for a while or be involved in the details. So could you share like how they can maybe maintain that level of creativity?
Yeah. I would actually go and say, no, you have to, if you really care about that, then you need a little side project, man. You need that project where you use it as a creative outlet, you know? And I think, but if you really want to go deep, you want to shift your perspective, you know, like where you go from creativity and the technical aspects of creating something, where you start going more into the problem solving side of things, right? Where and things that we already as designers we already have to do, but a lot of our time is also on the craft side.
Got
So
it.
I think there's a myth that creativity is just about making things look good, or creativity is just this thing that the creatives have. Oh, the creatives. Some people even say like, "Oh, I'm not that creative," and you're like, "I seen your spreadsheets. I seen the stuff that you do, and it's crazy. You are creative. You're just like applying it in a different way." So for designers, it's the same. Where it's like, hey, that creativity that you have developed, that's that skill that you have developed, and you put it on creating those beautiful clicky clacky rectangles. Now you have to apply that creativity somewhere else, you know, and that creativity is just having that bigger picture, broader perspective, and using that creativity also with your team, also with others, and seeing that as the next challenge, right? I would say, yes, keep doing that. But if you really love the craft, don't leave it away, because like that's actually just a very human thing, I guess. Some of us really want to keep creating and actually like do stuff. And so if that's part of you, then don't kill that part. Like grab a guitar, grab do something dumb, you know, like once you something that doesn't put a lot of pressure on you, and where you
Right.
can still like
Express that.
exactly, yeah, like
Right.
put that thing that need, that human need that you have, that you have also put in yourself, that you have realized that is something that you like. Don't kill that joy, you know, and try to apply it in the things that you have. But also, it's okay to just do things that are dumb little things that are not a lot of pressure. And
Right.
one thing that I learned is also don't be afraid to put it out there. Put it out there. Don't just leave it on your, even if it's ugly, even if it's just if it's not ready, put it out there. And sometimes we are really afraid of putting things out there, because like what, we're going to be judged. People are going to say it's not, because it's not finished, it's not there, it's not, oh, that's not perfect. And it's like, dude, like if it's perfect when it's out there, and then I mean, no, it's not perfect, but it's what I'm saying is like, hey, it's getting there, and now it's going in that direction, and you want to put it out there. If not, it doesn't count. It doesn't
Right.
count.
Got it.
But anyway,
No,
sorry, I started talking about something else. But at the end, it's like, hey,
yeah,
don't kill that thing that
don't keep.
really
Got
you
it.
like, and try to
Yeah.
suddenly apply those skills that you have on the things that now that you have
Yeah.
to do.
Thanks for that, Pablo. I think you've gone really in depth on this. So I want to move on to the next sort of topic of the day, which is really about AI and design. I think a lot of your work right now revolves around AI and design at Lummi. I mean, before we sort of go into Lummi and the depths of it, let's look it from a macro factor, a sort of like a macro picture. How do you envision sort of the role of AI evolving in the design industry over the next, let's say year and 3 and 5 years, right? I think people have different opinion. I don't know if anyone actually knows where it's going, but I'd love to hear your thoughts, right? I mean, you have been working on this for some time now, so it'd be great to kind of get a fresh perspective of how you think AI is going to change design.
I think it's already reshaping our industry. It's already not just our industry, it's already reshaping engineering, product, the strategy. A lot of the things that we do, suddenly like we have these little helpers who are super smart and who are eager to help at any moment. I see something that I've been seeing is that those who are curious and are using these tools and are not afraid of applying these tools, and also are not afraid of the taboo of AI. You use AI, so it's not as good, or whoever because there's a lot of people who hate on this, and I understand their side, but I understand. So some people would even hide that they use AI on something.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like because you don't want people to judge you as like you use AI, so maybe you're not good enough. No, it's like I would actually say like, oh, dude, hell yeah. I'm glad that you're using this and you're allowing yourself to be faster. You're allowing yourself to think broadly and expand whatever was in your head with these tools. So I
Yeah.
think, and talking about expansion, I'm already seeing a lot of people suddenly becoming developers. So suddenly not just static prototypes on a canvas, but actually pushing it and putting it out there and
Yeah.
connecting it with other things and using tools like Cursor or using tools like V0 or even just GPT and Claude to rate the things and actually develop them and actually put them in something that is real. So I will raise the head, and I've been using these tools like crazy, dude.
Yeah.
I'm a hacker. And dude, my engineers hate me because I come with finished prototypes, but the prototypes
Prototypes.
already work, already connected to an API, already like with the animations are connected with Framer Notion, are already connected with ChatCN. Things that before I would kind of do, but it was so that, dude, it was just like, dude, like I cannot be doing both things, I cannot be on code and on design. Suddenly I can do both, dude. And I feel like that's a huge shift where suddenly the people who are really creative and who have that curiosity, have that don't are not limited by those taboos, are actually suddenly feeling super empowered. So that's one thing. That's a
Right.
positive side, right? There's a
Yeah.
there's a nice side of all this. AI comes as a tool and it can empower you, it can make you better, and it can make you better in so many things. There's also the side that is worrying. And it's not just on design, it's a lot of industries where these things are coming with huge skills. And at least in other industries and math, science, medicine, law, suddenly these things have like they're putting a PhD level of capacity. And you're going to say like, well, but at what moment are they coming to the PhD level of design? I don't know, but I don't think it's impossible that these tools start being really good at design.
Yeah.
My experience has been that they're not yet. My experience has been that the little robots are not good at making a lot of the decisions that we designers make. And I'm talking more about like UX, UI designers
Yeah.
on the setting typography, setting composition, telling a story visually, and they're really good at on the content, but on the other stuff, they're not that great.
Yeah.
I don't see a lot of
So
yeah, sorry.
kind of
Yeah.
just to like some the both parts up where you talk about sort of how it's evolving, because I wanted to move to the next question. We don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
And we
Dude,
got a lot of
yeah.
questions.
Come on.
So
I'm sorry.
the first
I
question,
talk a lot.
yeah, no, like the first one that you mentioned was like, folks who are not afraid of the taboo, like, hey, this is made by AI, or I've used AI to design this, or I've used the AI to kind of make this. I think those designers are going to thrive. That's what you said. And then the cons is, I mean, the other side is that AI cannot make good decisions as of today, right? Things like the little micro experiences, the UX, the UI. I think we have seen a couple of those cases. I mean, where AI designed the UIs, and it turns out that it's a UI that, obviously no designers would want to use, and they just go ahead and redesign it by themselves. They're like, okay, screw it, I'm going to do it myself. And so we've seen a lot of those tools as well. And I'm curious, like, from your perspective on AI and design, like, what should designers do or learn currently right now in order to sort of keep up with the industry? There's so many new things every single day. What are some of the things that you have learned where designers should definitely keep up from a technical perspective, or if not from a sort of craft perspective as well?
I mean, definitely, I think use these tools to expand on what they already know and the things that are curious about. I think you were mentioning about the little things, right? The human touch. That is something that these tools are still lacking. So I would say, but I don't see that as a disadvantage. I see that as an opportunity. I usually see
Yeah.
what AI gives you it takes you to like 60, 70% there on the production side, on the things that are like the basic stuff. It will always give you vanilla answers. It will give you the generic things. But suddenly you have more time to do the little details, that those specific things, right? So if you were to divide the design process, almost like the film process, right? Pre-production, production, post-production. Suddenly, well, if you have a limited time and a limited budget to do those things in a limited amount of time too, right? But suddenly, if you bring these tools to help you on I don't want to do a lot of the pre-production, a lot of the strategizing, a lot of the ideation. Instead of spending 1 week doing that, now we can do it in 1 day. Why? Because we're getting these things to actually expand or thinking of those things. Now we have 1 day. On the production, sometimes a lot of the production time is spent on the actual building the blocks, building the basic structure. So then you spend a week on doing that. These things are actually pretty good at all that standard stuff. Suddenly now it's 1-2 days on that.
Wow.
And now you have suddenly 2 weeks and a half for those little details that sometimes we don't have the time. We don't have the time to do that final touch, that delight. Those things that we really love. Suddenly, many times, because we launched the MVP, which sometimes the MVP is the crappy version that we're still thinking, oh man, if I just had 1 more week, if I just had 1 more day to do that stuff, suddenly we have that. So I would say like,
sorry, go on.
We have back all that time. So like to your question about like, so what should we do to stay relevant? I think it's really, going deep into these tools and
right.
I can tell you some of the tools that
I use. I was about to ask. What tools would you recommend?
No, I'm not going to tell you my secrets, man. No.
Everyone is going to listen.
I've been recently using a lot of V0 from Vercel, and V0 is amazing, man. It connects to, but it has the same problem that I was telling you. It gives you vanilla, like basic stuff. That means it connects to ChatCN. It uses Tailwind, but that's the stuff that developers love. Well, some of the developers who are more in the modern tech stack, they love that stuff because it's really easy for them. They don't have to worry so much about the front end. They can focus on other things. And these are pre-built components. But those pre-built components are just a base that you can create on top of them. You can theme them, you can add animation, you can connect them to Framer Motion, you can connect it to 3D.js. You can start doing a lot of cool stuff. So I would say learn those kinds of tools that give you that edge, that advantage where you are now suddenly part of a higher level conversation with your team. You're not just delivering static prototypes. You're actually adding, you are now part of the conversation on the front end. And it works really simple with just a prompt, v0.dev. That's one. Another one is Cursor. I don't know if I'm sure you've heard of Cursor.
Heard of Cursor, yeah.
It's great for also type in the things that you want. You grab some of the code. If you were doing it on Figma or something, you can grab some of the, export some of that code that Figma gives you on the style, on the buttons, and the components, and then give it to Cursor, connect it to Claude, and then suddenly you can create the app, dude. And it's incredible, suddenly that superpower that you have. You are now not just on the person who just gives the static prototypes and hope that the developers actually apply your hope. And you just pray. Hopefully they actually do what I asked them to do. I know suddenly you are there in the conversation. Hey, I did this. And also like, hey, that animation that you wanted to do is not possible. What are you talking about? It's possible. Here, I did it. So those tools are
like that sounds like a victory for designers to be able to say that I did it. Yeah.
Like I keep hearing designers who are scared, and I understand why we're scared. I'm not going to be naive also about like the risk that we're facing, but I also see like, dude, like, have you seen the opportunities that suddenly your creativity, it doesn't have a limit anymore. The limit used to be that you get to that level, and what Figma allows you to do, that's as high as you can get.
Right.
And Figma allows you to do really cool stuff. You connect things and you can animate them, but they're all static and they're not real. They're not the real thing. And then developers love it because they can just copy some of the code and then put it on their dev. I can tell you they don't really love the code part of Figma, but at least that's been my experience. They just love seeing the stuff. But suddenly you are part of that conversation that happens later, that sometimes you are just there waiting for them to have a demo ready so you can just like click on it and then tell them what needs to be fixed. And then, so is that back and forth, which is pretty good. I'm not complaining about that. I love doing that with my developers, but sometimes you feel like you're stuck now and you're just waiting on others. So you can be part of the conversation. So those tools, but I can also say I can talk about Lummi.
Talk about it. Yeah, go for it.
I mean, what we're doing is we're bringing more creative tools, and we're really thinking about like, what is the next generation of creativity or of creative tools? And I feel like I was talking before about the Dunning-Kruger effect, right? And the Dunning-Kruger effect is usually you think that you know it all when you don't know anything. And then you realize you don't know anything and your confidence level goes down. I think that we're going to reach a point in our lifetime as human, the human experience. I don't think the Dunning-Kruger effect is going to exist anymore. Let me tell you that what I believe is that suddenly that confidence level that we're going to have is going to remain. Why? Because now we're going to have these little helpers who actually help us deliver those things. And they know it all, and we can use them to develop our ideas. So that confidence level that sometimes that you get that goes down because you don't know anything. Now with AI, that is not going to happen anymore because suddenly we can ask these things and they can answer the questions, PhD level answers. And it's like, and then we can take credit for it.
Wow.
In Lummi, what we want is like, with that thinking, how can we get people to really feel that power where their little sketches, one tool that we've been working on, and I have some alpha versions of it that some people are using, is the idea of starting with a wireframe and jumping straight to final version where a collage that you just put together, a fussy input. I don't know if you've done this with emails or when you write something and you put it like kind of all the keywords that you need, all the fussiness is not polished, and you give it to ChatGPT and it's like, dude, help me polish this thing, Yeah. And then it will use those things you get it and will put it in a structure, and then you can say like, hey, make it more concise, make it more formal, give it that style, or keep it my style, whatever that is. But you gave it that fussy input. And then you got a polished output. And that's on text. Now imagine that on images. Imagine that on design, where you have a polished wireframe, just like, a fussy wireframe. Hey, I need a bar here. I need the content here. I want here to talk about this part of the product. And I need here to do this, and almost like a fig jam thing. And then from that, I want it polished where I'm using, now suddenly you're more of a creative director. And you start saying like, hey, I wanted to have this tone and voice. I want to use these colors and these visuals, and I wanted to connect with people this way. And then you get an answer with that. Whereas like you start with really this fuzzy, ugly input, and then you get a really polished output. But the human there is given these things. As humans, we're acting more as creators.
By the way, Pablo, we have to move on to the next question a little bit more. But so basically, to sum up, the three tools that you're talking about is Vercel V0, and you have obviously your Cursor AI, and then you have Lummi AI. So those three things.
AI with our API too, because you can connect V0 and stuff. You can connect it to our API, dude. And
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. That's new knowledge. I didn't know that.
Exactly. And we have the documentation, and you can just copy paste the documentation and tell V0, just grab images from Lummi. Here, copy paste the implementation. This is how it works. And then it can be like, oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay. I just saw the API. Okay. That's amazing. I'm gonna try it out next. So in terms of sort of like, into AI, today's conversation is really all about AI creativity and design. And obviously I think any designers who think that AI is a fad, it's clearly not. I'm just going to tell you that. And it's going to be here to stay. So I think there is sort of this notion that AI might be a fad. I'm just going to sit and wait things out, but don't wait it out. That's my advice. Things are happening. There are a lot of people innovating, and you kind of want to ride on that and learn it. So from your sort of perspective, right, Pablo, in terms of the future of AI, what are some of the things that you're excited about? Obviously, this is our last question before we move on to the sort of more lightning round kind of questions. We only have a few minutes left, but where do you think AI is going, and what are you excited about this year?
Well, this year we're going to be hearing a lot about agents. We're hearing about GPTs before. I think this year is the year of the agents, and we're going to start seeing hints of AGI. And AGI is always this goal that is like a little bit fuzzy. It's out there. One of these days we're going, and different people, different laboratories, the scientists and experts define it in different ways. So that goal is a little bit further away from others, and some are more skeptical of getting there. So I think we're going to start hearing more about that. And this is coming from the labs who are really working deep in this, Anthropic, OpenAI. They're hinting they're getting closer to them. And when you see their studies, when you see what they are doing, what they're saying, they're a little bit they're not being very transparent about it. But what they say, what you can hear is like, oh, they're hints that some of this stuff is starting to happen. But that first thing that we're going to be able to see is agents. So now, what is an agent? What is the difference from like a chatbot? An agent has more autonomy, and it doesn't require a human to be on top of it. It doesn't require that input from the human anymore, and it's connected to different things, and it can act by make decisions along the way, say, this is what happened, rationalize and reason about what the recent output is, and then plan its next steps, and then reason what just happened, and then plan its next steps. So we're going to start seeing more of that, where it's like, hey, I mean, it's a very dumb agent, but might be really useful, will be an agent that says, like, get me all the news, the top news every day. Every morning, I just want you to send me a message with all the coolest top news that I can get. And so now, instead of going to social media, instead of hearing the podcast, instead of going to X and just scroll or going to whatever news site, now we can get a feed on my interests or my personalized things that are interesting to me, that I really like, just like this thing, to go out there, search, grab the things, and then send me a message every morning at 7 a.m. so I can get my news.
Oh,
hey,
wow.
Really dumb, right?
Yeah.
But really specific to me. And it's not an app that I had to download. It's not something that I had to go out there. It's almost like a little software that I built for myself, for my needs. I want it to be at 7 a.m. and I want you to talk about this, and I want you to format them in this way, because this is how I like to read the news. Just give me the title. I don't read the news. Who reads the news? We just need the title. So just give me the title. Just give me the clickbait title so I can go out there and talk to my friends and tell them, like, I know everything, and I know how the world is turning. So that's just a very specific little thing. But now I start imagining an agent that says, like, hey, go into my files and see all the inconsistencies in my design system. Go and see where in my pages, in my UX things, you're seeing that accessibility is not being applied. We're missing some component. One of these designers broke a component. Tell me where somebody broke the component. Tell me who broke it. And then go in there and do that search for me, and then come back with a summary of the things that need to be fixed. Hey,
Right.
very basic agent too, but this is like also the idea of like giving that agency. And you know what? Do it every week. Every week, come back and tell me the things that happen. It's now, again, these are really dumb agents, but suddenly like, hey, agent, well, I want you to go and give me my top users. Tell me more about them. I want to learn how they're using our product, how they are applying, or what is it that they're not liking, and then come back with a summary of it. This is very different from just analytics, which they just give you the raw data. This is actually...
So they're doing it for you. They're doing that
it for you and understanding, and then coming back with an answer, with a possible answer.
Wow.
I believe we're going to start seeing more of that, about these autonomous agents that can do things that are very specific to you, to your needs, to your taste, to what you want, how you want to format it.
Right.
And I don't know. I'm
Wow.
excited. Like ChatGPT just launched a a very basic agent thing. But again, this is just hinting at the future. Once you give the agents, hey, now connect the cursor and do a box length, like length of all my code every 2 days, and come back with a report. Come back with a report with analytics, and tell me what I should be doing better. I don't know. I think
That's amazing.
that's just me imagining, and those are really dumb, really low level things. I'm pretty sure that way more creative people are going to start using these autonomous agents to do really amazing stuff.
Yeah. I was just, sort of playing around with the ChatGPT's task, and it's still in beta. It's still in beta, but it is almost like that agent, that you talk about. It sends you a reminder. It sends you, it pulls out information everywhere and just does stuff for you. So that's really exciting. Thanks for sharing that. And also, I'm looking forward to whatever agent you might create this year. ADPs as well. We're looking into that. Now, before we end off the conversation today, I'm just curious, like, if you have anything that you haven't shared, but a final piece of advice for designers sort of looking into AI in 2025, because it's clearly going to be big. I still get a sense that many designers don't think it's going to be big, but it is clearly going to be big. I'm just going to tell everyone that I cannot emphasize that enough, just because, I obviously have heard it so many places, right? And so I think I would love to hear your opinion. I mean, for your advice, if there's anything that you want to share with designers that wants to thrive in 2025 in sort of this era of AI.
I mean, I think your first question was about like what was that pivotal moment, and what was that thing that how do you keep going? And I think for me and what I would recommend, and it's really basic. It's just to stay curious and don't be afraid. I mean, I get it. Why people might feel discouraged. Sometimes I feel that way. I feel discouraged about like what I see, what these things are capable of. And then it's really easy to go down that rabbit hole where you start imagining where these things are going, and you start questioning your own worth as a human. It's like, hey, we are, and I'll say this as a designer, and I'm pretty sure a lot of designers feel that way. We see our value or merit or like on our output, on what we bring to the world, and on our craft, on the things that we do. And we value ourselves as humans is very correlated to those things that we do. What we do is what we are sometimes. And suddenly, if these things start doing what we do faster, kind of better and cheaper, well, you might start questioning yourself, right? Well, what is my role in the world then? Like I've been doing design for so many years. I've been doing this thing for so long, and now the robots are just doing it for nothing and really quickly, and actually pretty good. Like I'm not saying we're there, but we might imagine that point where we get there. So we might feel discouraged. So my advice is like, hey, focus on what keeps you human, and don't see this as a threat. Still, be aware. Don't be naive about the risk, and don't be. We should be aware of where these things can go, and we should just like inform ourselves, because we designers still have a seat at the table. We designers, like, we fought for that seat, and now we have it. So now we should be raising our hands about all those ethical concerns that we might have whenever we're using these things in a way that might lose that human factor, and that companies might be saying, hey, let's just delegate everything to the robots. I think that we as designers, we should be more involved in this, and we shouldn't be seeing it as a threat. We should be seeing the risk, but we should also be seeing the opportunities, and we should be there, staying curious, getting in there, and not being afraid. It's easy to be discouraged, and it's easy to see these things and just say like, so what's the point? What's the point of learning to code if this thing does it? What's the point of learning about typography if this thing eventually will become really good at doing it too? I don't. That's a fallacy. We shouldn't think that way. We should see it as an opportunity. So I don't know. Stay curious. Don't be afraid, and just involve yourselves in these things. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm Pablo Stanley. Although on LinkedIn, now I'm Pablo Marquez. So I have to come out. My legal name is Pablo Marquez. My artist name is Pablo Stanley. So in LinkedIn, if you see a Pablo Marquez, that's me. But on everything else, it's Pablo Stanley and yeah, Lummi. And I think on all the social media things where Lummi pics on Twitter, on Instagram, and all those things. And honestly, we're doing. I mean, I believe our team is doing amazing stuff, and we understand some of the concerns that some people might have about AI things. And believe me, we still believe in the human side. Everything that we do has a human touch. There's humans behind selecting every image, and there's real people, there's real creators, and we want real people using these things to create amazing stuff. So for us, that's really important. We are designers, we're creators too, but we're just taking that step into that direction where it's like these things are going this way. Let's just do it in a way that still feels human and still feels real. I see a lot of stock sites out there who are just like almost like filled with, sorry, I'm going to they fill with crap and with AI crap. And they might see that and say like, well, everything AI is crap. I don't think so. There's people who really care, know how to use these things and create amazing things that just feel like I want to use this thing. So we're really trying to do that. Here, that is okay. Well, none. I just like, I mean, shampoo. That's it. Like seriously, Kirkland shampoo, the one that is cheap that just sell by the big bottle that is just like the cheapest one that it just like gets it clean. And then after that, I I do hair dry it a little bit, and I do it. Hold on, I do it like this. So this is the hair dryer, just a little bit, couple of minutes, and then that's it. Let's go. Oh, man, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Felix. And thank you for doing this, man. You guys are crushing it. I see everything, all the events that you do, all the stuff, how rude you, it shows that you guys really care and you guys are there for the community and you guys are really in touch with what designers fears, what they want, what they're talking about, what they want to know. And I see your post, dude, and I always feel really inspired by what you write and how you keep us going, man. So thank you, dude. Thank you and your team.